If you're not careful, SpaceX will be the only game in town, says Fatih Ozmen, co-founder of Sierra Nevada Corp., a private U.S. company that has been contracted by NASA to fly cargo to the International Space Station. SpaceX is transforming the space race and is currently developing a new space rocket, which will be another stepping stone for SpaceX to gain dominance in the space industry. At nearly 400 feet, the new SpaceX rocket will eventually be taller than the Saturn V that carried NASA's Apollo missions to the moon, and its 33 engines will deliver twice the thrust. For Musk, it is meant to play a key role in one day establishing a human colony on Mars. But the rocket could have a far more immediate impact on a space industry. With the power to carry as much as 100 tons into low orbit around the Earth, admirers claim Musk is about to transform the economics of the launch business. Musk's space company still has some way to go to live up to the promise, including winning regulatory clearance to launch Starship from its Texas site and showing that it can reliably reach space while returning both the rocket stages for reuse. Musk's venture has put itself in a commanding position in the new commercial space industry with surprising speed. It is only 13 years since it became the first private company to launch its own rocket into orbit, breaking into an industry previously dominated by nation-states. It has also leapt ahead of contractors such as Boeing and Lockheed Martin, whose joint venture had carried the flag for U.S. space launch. SpaceX's ascendancy has been underlined over the past 6 months by a striking series of wins. They include a $2.9 billion contract awarded by NASA to use the Starship to land its astronauts on the moon as early as 2024. It was the space agency's decision to pick only one supplier for this program, after earlier indicating it would select two. That brought the warning from Blue Origin. NASA officials point out that they have only awarded SpaceX a single mission, leaving them open to choose other suppliers for future landings. But Blue Origin claims that adapting its systems to work with the Starship will force design changes that will lock the agency into a dependence on SpaceX in the long term. Musk went on to upstage Bezos a second time late last month. Just weeks before, the Amazon founder and Sir Richard Branson had each made personal trips to the edge of space on their company's respective rockets. The brief moments they enjoyed in microgravity were eclipsed when SpaceX carried 4 passengers more than 5 times higher for a 3-day joyride around the Earth, making them the first all-civilian crew to reach space. SpaceX also announced the first 500,000 orders for its Starlink broadband network, making it the first in a new generation of broadband communications companies operating from a constellation of satellites in low orbit, around 500 kilometers above the Earth. And last week, NASA said 2 astronauts who had been scheduled to fly on a Boeing spacecraft would be switched to SpaceX's spaceship instead. The company that defined an earlier era of aerospace has hit too many technical obstacles to carry astronauts on its first commercially developed spaceship, putting it well behind what until recently was just a scrappy startup. At the heart of SpaceX's spate of successes is the Falcon 9, which has brought down the cost of reaching space and become a springboard both for the company's wider business and Musk's ultimate goal of reaching Mars. In terms of performance, cost, and reliability, it really is the most successful rocket ever built, says Peter Diamandis, a U.S. space entrepreneur. The tactics that turned the Falcon 9 into the era's most widely used rocket are now being applied to the Starship. Foremost has been the success of Musk and SpaceX's chief operating officer, Gwynne Shotwell, at pushing disruptive technologies into mainstream production. In the case of the Falcon 9, that meant using 3D printing for its engines, the most complex part of the rocket, and reusing the main booster for future launches. To master new techniques like these, SpaceX worked on almost every detail of designing and creating its own rockets rather than relying on suppliers, with Musk himself acting as a chief engineer in the early days to goad his team on. SpaceX also took on the full development risk itself, rather than being able to fall back on guaranteed payments from NASA, forcing much greater financial discipline. As a result, the space agency estimates that the $400 SpaceX spent to develop the Falcon 9 rocket was 10 times lower than the likely cost of a rocket built under traditional government contracting. Falcon 9 was always intended as a stepping stone to develop the cash flow and the technology needed to carry the company much deeper into space. Musk should be taken seriously when he muses about turning away from the Falcon 9 and redirecting all of SpaceX's effort to the Starship and the goal of reaching Mars. According to supporters like Diamandis, he kills his old products and burns the ship, he says. One reason he has often succeeded at ambitious new undertakings With a lock on today's launch market, it is probably still far too soon to write the epitaph for the Falcon 9. But when the Starship finally takes to the heavens, it is likely to draw a clear dividing line between one era of space exploration and the next.